Hello. Hello.
Let's get a shout, hey. How's that?
Okay.
All right. So here we are for this week's Influence Show, our podcast. And we have a very special show. We're going to talk about Proverbs 31. And we're going to read Proverbs 31 through the eyes of a business person. So we're just talking with someone here earlier, and they're saying how, gosh, Bob, you sure find a lot of interesting business scriptures, or you make up a lot of interesting business scriptures or something like that. And it's like, no, it's just reading it with different glasses, right? Just reading with different glasses. So before we dive in, let's introduce ourselves real quick. So Deborah, go ahead and just tell us a little bit about you.
My name is Deborah, and I live in Kansas City, and I do digital marketing, and have a little business. There's 6 of us on our team, and we work with clients across the whole nation and actually internationally too, help them reach their customers better through the web. So been going on an entrepreneurial journey, which is super fun.
So it's 2 years, right?
Actually, it's just over 3.
Just over 3 years.
Officially started.
And so you jumped out of the corporate world into the entrepreneurial world as a single woman?
Yep.
Awesome journey.
Yep.
Journey. So, yeah. So Amber?
Yes. Hello. I'm Amber McCool. I'm originally from Florida. Lived here for 3 years, and I'm the director of Influent. And it's amazing to be a part of this and just see what God says about business and launching people into their callings.
Yeah. And Hannah?
Yes, my name is Hannah Marr, and I recently moved to Kansas City, actually about 2 years ago. I've been in sales my whole career. I spent 5 years with a marketing research firm and selling software, and lived overseas for a bit. Wanted to be closer to family and moved to Kansas City. I just started a new job in June at a marketing research firm, that was working with customers to better understand the customer voice and marketing insights based on that.
Awesome. And these girls, I know these girls a little bit, and more than a little bit in some cases, but these girls love Jesus, right? And so here you are, all 3 single women in business, knocking it down, right? But that's, not all segments of Christianity, right, kind of are cheering that, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of like, some are saying, maybe not,
Yeah.
And, Deborah, I know you were telling me a while back, you were in a group, small group type setting of Christians, and as soon as you said you were starting a business, it was like conversation killer.
Yeah.
Why?
So, yeah.
I don't know. I guess people are always just more interested in like social things and your dating life, and then when you talk about what you're excited about and when it's business, just kind of hit like this glazed look. Just didn't really connect with the whole idea. But part of it, I guess.
Yeah. And I mean, you expressed to me, some frustration years back where it's like we need a community of Christians, marketplace Christians, who are going for it. They're like, have a dream and are going for it. Not just trying to mark time off the clock, right? Not just trying to, honestly, just, the definition of faithful is not making a mistake, right? And no, faithful is multiplying what we've been given, right? So Proverbs 31. So I was so triggered by this last week, and we just mentioned Proverbs 31, and I just said Proverbs 31 woman was a businesswoman. And of course, eyebrows are raised, okay? So I just want to say the Proverbs 31 woman is a businesswoman. This lady is a businesswoman, okay? And so I just want to say Jesus is calling women to do business. Jesus is calling women to do business. Proverbs 31 is the woman. How many of you have heard of the Proverbs 31 woman? Anybody, right?
Yes, definitely.
She's a businesswoman. Here's the verses that jump out to me, right? Verse 16. She considers a field and buys it, right? So that's a speculator in property, okay? Right? Considering a field, you're considering the income, you're considering the cost, you're considering the maintenance. You're doing a little business plan. That's what that is. From the profit, she plants a vineyard. So, well, she had profits.
Can't be a Christian.
Whoa! Christian woman had profits.
Amen.
Come on, man. And then verse 24, she makes linen garments and sells them and supplies sashes for the merchants. And I'm reading that, I'm thinking, well, that's Etsy, right? She's got a little Etsy business.
Yeah.
Right? So what do you think of that?
I love it. I think for the first time I read Proverbs 31 in more of a business lens. And it
How'd
felt,
you read it before?
I think as a woman I'm supposed to be, like a woman I'm supposed to measure up to is Proverbs 31 woman. But reading it in a business lens, I actually felt inspired and I felt encouraged to reach for wisdom and to grow and learn to obtain wisdom and through my faithfulness and through the works. It talks about like her works got her praises from her husband.
Uh-huh.
And it's by works that is from the fear of the Lord is what they were talking about too. And so I got a lot from it and my eyes completely open in a different lens reading it that way.
It is funny how so much of the Bible, right? You have two people who read the Bible and get two completely different things out of it, you know, because of the lenses we read, you know. And this is where I just want to challenge our pastors out there, you know, who you go to Bible school, you never really worked a job, you go, you know, raised in a Christian family, then you go become a pastor somewhere, you know, and we read these scriptures without seeing the congregation, right, the human race in these scriptures, and they really are, right? So Hannah,
I read that and thought, that's a boss lady.
well,
That's someone who sees something.
she wasn't waiting for someone to make her decisions for her, was she?
That's right. That's a woman on a mission. That's someone who sees something, she goes for it, she makes it happen, she puts in the sweat equity, and it's beautiful.
Man,
and
I got chills.
you know,
That is
that's
right.
not the meek woman that, like, sometimes you read Proverbs in 31 and you're like, oh, you know, like she's at her spindle doing this and that. No, like that girl is like out working and
She's
just
on
making,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
She's-
happening.
She's going for it.
Right.
She's going for it. It's interesting. She considered the field and bought it.
Yes.
It doesn't say she asked anybody,
No.
although maybe her consideration was, right? But she was a decision maker.
Yes.
Did not mind making a decision and making the call and spending the jack.
Right. And she had the Lord's backing, you know, to help her out along the way. No, for me, I read that and I was just inspired. I was like, no, you can be called as a woman to be in the workplace. You can be called, you know, to be at home with your kids. It's work either way. But for me, I feel like my calling is in the workplace. And that is my platform to share about God's love and what He's doing in my life. And it's just incredible to see, though, that, like, you know, as Christians, we can be profitable and we can be successful because people can then look at us and say, what is that? How can I have some of that? And where are you getting that fuel from? And tell me more about your God, you know, who's Jesus?
Yeah. That's awesome. You know, it's the power of the workplace, right? We're embedded. We're there, you know, people go to missions, and I'm so happy people go to missions, but man, everywhere you walk is a mission field, right? We just got to learn to be effective, you know. But it is so interesting here, you know, 1000 BC, which is when this was written, you know, God is honoring independent women. This is radical. This is radical stuff. Now, you know, even the Roman world historically was very male dominated. Okay? And so that's when Paul is writing, you know, women, hey, take it on the down low, right? Because we don't want to, the culture isn't ready for this. The culture isn't ready for, you know, women in leadership. But here's but Jesus said there's neither male nor female. So again, he completely upgraded women and made an unequivocal statement of equality of value. It doesn't mean we're the same. It just means there's not one greater than another. And crazy. I mean, how much Christianity honors women, and I love it. And it's interesting to see in history. I mean, women just got the vote here. What was the year? It was like 19 into the 10s somewhere, I believe, wasn't it? And it really wasn't that even long ago. You guys, not a lot of historians.
Yeah, we're like, I don't know. I'll have to Google that.
But you
But
think
not that
about it. I mean,
long
it took 2,000 years for society to recognize this. But to me, that's part of Reformation. That's part of bringing the value system of God. He loves this half of the human race called women and wants them to be everything He's called them to be. And here, so he hinted it out in 1000 BC. Jesus clearly, unequivocally called women out in 30 AD, and here we're seeing it happen, and we're seeing women really rising up and becoming these wonderful leaders with meekness and humility, but going for it. Deb, what do you think?
I love that. I think it's so powerful to me because it helps create just a standard, or it normalizes casting a vision for something much bigger than just me and my little life, and that applies to men and women, but it's the whole idea of investing in something, and it's bigger than you. It's giving yourself over to your purpose and your calling that God set for you, and putting in the effort and the energy to really partner with Him in that, and to think beyond what society might tell you you're only going to measure up to so much, or your values only in certain or specific things, but to be able to say, like, your worth is more than that, and that you have vision for your life, and it is creating wealth out of what you've been given. It's spending your talents and
taking
building,
what you've been given and multiplying.
Yes, multiplying, and it encourages you to do that, and I love that because I think that's what humans were created for, was to accomplish a purpose with the Lord in that. And I think it's very easy to be reactive and to coast and to just try and skate by, but we're called to be to live more than that and to make your life count. And I think that is a good just example of what that looks like. And
it's awesome. But it is. It's like there's just this absence of vision. It's like even a lot of young professionals are kind of going for it, but really lack the why. They haven't quite figured out the why. And so we can share the Lord a little bit, but people don't necessarily know how to do that. That's why I wrote this book, Marketplace Christianity. Please get it. It's a great book, and give all the money to charity. But it is a great book, and it's the why. And that's the how to actually bring the gospel in, and we can give money. It's awesome, but the bigger reason, the bigger why, is that the harvest Jesus is talking about is a harvest of kings and queens. If you read Matthew 13, the parable of the wheat and the tares, the wheat is the sons of the kingdom, the daughters of the kingdom. And the harvest, he said, the field is the world, the harvest is the end of the age. The harvest he is after is young kings and young queens who are fit to rule and reign with him forever. And the training for reigning is business. So you're doing this business startup. How much are you learning about people?
Oh,
how much you learn about people?
a lot.
How much are you learning about management, about focus, about time, about how much wisdom are you gleaning?
A lot. I mean, hopefully.
It doesn't always feel like it. Well, think about where you were 5 years ago, where your level of skill, your level of understanding, your level of wisdom.
Yeah, I mean, 5 years ago, I don't even remember where I was, but even just it was much more comfortable back then, where it's like you show up and you do your job and you never really step outside of your comfort zone. But being put in a position where you're being forced to learn a lot and be in very uncomfortable situations, and just the unknown of not knowing what's coming around the corner, but putting yourself out there and just taking stuff as it comes and learning. Like I've grown leaps and
It's
bounds
crazy.
the last few years.
It's crazy, but if you think about it, if we really are going to rule and reign with Jesus, right, then shouldn't we get some training? Well, shouldn't you get some people skills, some leadership skills, some, deep spirituality, tested spirituality, all these things? And he is actually doing this. That's the parable of Luke 19, right? And he entrusted. He says the king went to receive a kingdom and then return. Who's it talking about? The king to receive a kingdom and return? It's talking about Jesus, obviously, right? And so he entrusted his stuff to us, and it's this age. It's the interadvental age between his first and his second coming. It's literally talking about this time. He's saying, "I've given you my stuff. Multiply it. You do business until I come." And then the ones who did good business, what was their reward? Come on, what was that? What did they get? Luke 19. Blank.
Eternity with him.
Cities.
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 I was
on a
say
hill.
land.
Cities. Cities. Come on. Cities. And that's real. It's the idea that we are going to rule and reign with him. So he's got a program for you, a king program, a queen program, for you to be trained, and it's called business. And I just want to tie this in, okay? Because Proverbs 31 really is about the bride. It's about the bride of Christ, isn't it? It's a type of the bride without spot or wrinkle or anything, who is fit to be united with Jesus forever, right? And guess what? In the Asian culture, the brides, the women ran the household. They were the businesswoman. So he expects part of what the bride of Christ is to do is to be the Proverbs 31 bride. And this is partly about doing business. This is our calling, is as the fit bride for him to be the Proverbs 31. I mean, and she was firing on all cylinders, right? Virtue, I wrote down some of the words that came to my mind. Virtue, diligence, caring for the poor. This is his bride. Industrious, entrepreneurial. Entrepreneurial is a person who organizes and manages any enterprise, especially business, with considerable initiative and risk. I love that. She's cranking it out. As you said, boss lady, Enterprising, showing initiative and resourcefulness. Do you know he values initiative? He values resourcefulness. He gives us his stuff and he says, multiply it. He doesn't even tell us how. It's just go do whatever you've got. Go do it. And it's turning you into a king and a queen. So yeah, this program we are on is this queen in training. It's awesome. It is an awesome journey, a privilege.
I read this and I think, just to be honest, right? Like, I think women have this tension of, am I supposed to be, like, separating the two? Am I supposed to be a mom, a wife, stay at home, or a career? And they're like, I need to choose one of these paths. But I read this, I'm like, she does it all. She's a multitasker.
Yeah.
And so I think that's part of the inspiration, too, reading it is, this is awesome. This is something that, we aren't to just, we hold ourselves to a standard, but not to get down on ourselves. And like you were saying, the wisdom comes from the consistency and the faithfulness and the trials and the people you're around and the challenges that we learn on a daily basis. And so being consistent in the challenges on a day-to-day basis, we obtain wisdom.
Yeah,
and
awesome.
From that, doing whatever the Lord puts in front of us and being faithful to that.
So should a woman who doesn't do business feel bad about that?
No.
What do you think?
I think it's what you said. It's enterprising. It's the whole idea of taking whatever you've been given or what's in front of you and what you have.
And maximizing it,
Yeah,
using it,
you
deploying
have-
it, working
yeah,
it.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
that looks a lot of different ways and takes shape. And everybody has different skills and opportunities and characteristics and, and even responsibilities that they're given in a certain time. And being wise with those is what I think that whole thing embodies.
Excellent. What do you think,
And-
Hannah?
Well, one of the things that stood out to me is there was a part, and it was talking about how she was at her spindle and she was weaving, and the same hands that were working were then outstretching to the poor and the needy. And I thought that was really cool because we can do work for the Lord in so many different ways, whether that be the workplace or at home or what have you. But because of the position that we're in, we're able to extend love and care to the people around us. And I just thought that was just like such a lovely thing, because the same hands that are hard at work can also be so passionate and so gentle.
That's awesome. You know, and we think all this happened, she did this all within one day, right?
Yeah.
What if it was over a lifetime? What if she had one kind of an entrepreneurial section of her career, then a mothering section of her career, then a spindling section, then an Etsy section, you know, and she just kind of, you know, and she kind of touched all the different areas at different stages of life in different ways, you know, you know, and you know, I think about my wife who's here. I mean, you know, she was a stay-at-home mom. She was a trained engineer, went to school to become a mechanical engineer, worked 1 year, gets pregnant and becomes a stay-at-home mom. You know, and then all the kids leave. You know, what is this? The kids abandon you, you know? And they leave, and now what? Well, now she's running a school. And she's a mom to, you know, 200 kiddos. Yeah. And I'm seeing the queenly journey, and I'm seeing the Proverbs 31 in everything she does. But it's in different seasons, vastly different seasons. You know?
Yeah. And you know, I realize too, everybody's life looks different. Yeah. And I think anyone in the world, all humans deal with comparison. But I think for women, it's tough. Particularly worse. And it's like, that's so poisonous to have comparison. And people deal with it, but not living in the comparison of your life not looking like somebody else's. And no, every woman doesn't have to be a businesswoman or a stay-at-home mom, but everybody's life looks different, and they have different callings on their life. And it's about being faithful in what God's calling you to do. And for us, that looks like the workplace, and that's amazing, and that makes us come alive. So realizing and identifying with the calling that God set before you as a woman and being faithful in that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Deborah?
Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's there's so many ways we can serve the Lord, but I'm looking at and reading these scriptures, it's so clear how much God values entrepreneurialism. As she was just, and so even if you're not a businesswoman, right, it's just, he's valuing the innovation, the industrious nature. So we are to tap into that. He loves this. There's an element of God's nature of creativity, right, in just making something happen that wasn't happening before, right? Taking care of something. And so that's God. So he does want us to tap into that, whether we do business or not. You know, but I do want to say, I just want to say it. I want to say it. That Jesus calls women to do business and to lead in business.
Amen.
Amen. Come on.
Yeah.
Let's say it. Anybody agree with me? Come on.
Light it up. 2018.
All right, women, light it up. All right, we'll see you next time. God bless.
Yes.